welcome back here again, another video from T-Mac Fitness Workshop. This week on the video, what we want to look at is this piece of equipment. Now you might have seen what I'm sitting on in maybe the background in some of the videos and wondering what it's for. Along with straight leg deadlifts and our one leg deadlift, thing like that we've shown before for working on the hamstrings, this is probably one of my favourite pieces of equipment to use for hamstring work. Maybe in a conventional gym you'd have hamstring curl machines. I wouldn't be a big fan of using them. I guess they have their place in workouts and stuff like that. It wouldn't be one of my favourite ways to work my hamstrings. You might have heard the exercise of Nordic curls before. Well, this is what I use for doing Nordic curls. You've probably seen as well a GHG in some gyms, a glute ham developer, which is slightly similar to be able to do Nordic curls in them. It does kind of activate maybe your glutes, are probably, it's in the name with the glute hamstring developer. It uses both together to do the movement. On the Nordic curl machine that I have here, well, it's not really a machine, it kind of isolates maybe your hamstrings a bit more. Now I really like doing them on this. Some people have different opinions on Nordic curls and stuff like that. You can do them in the gym, of course, if you have a partner to hold down the weight. I've also seen maybe getting the bar on the ground and getting your feet underneath. The only thing that I'd suggest that if you do them on the ground or with a partner, that make sure that your knees are up off the ground, whether they're on maybe a step or a deadlift block, something like that. Because what I find is if you're kneeling down the ground with someone holding your ankles, what tends to be is your foot goes into a lot of plantar flexion maybe, and it's not great for the ankle to have that force maybe down on it. So if your knee is lifted up, that means you can keep your foot straight down in it. And what I'll do is I'll just show you what Nordic curl is on the way I like to do it. Maybe you've never seen a Nordic curl before or know what it is, but it is a great tool to have in your gym workout and your gym programs. Now this is what we use here. You can also do your hip thrust off the front of it. It's kind of a multi one. You might have seen ones that are a little bit different to this then as well. So what you do is just pin the feet in behind. Make sure they're nice and stable in there. You're going to keep the hips pushed forward and you're just going to lean. Now it's important that when you start that you just edge out slowly. Don't be going mad, wanting to go all the way down and pull yourself back, because that's probably where you're going to actually, it's going to be counterproductive to improve your hamstring. You probably might end up actually maybe injuring yourself doing that. So what you do first is just go out a little bit so that you know what the exercise feels like and see what the hamstrings are able to do. If you can go a little bit further, great, and pull yourself back and kind of work yourself into going out a little bit further the whole time. The main thing is not to let the hip bend. As soon as the hip bends there, the hamstring probably isn't working as good as it might. If you're a little bit worried about falling forward, you can always have the hands out, and then if you feel something wrong with your hamstring and you need to kind of bail out the exercise, collapse down on that. If you go forward and the hamstrings fail a little bit, you always have your hands there to stop them at 2. But what I like to do is kind of have my hands just there in, say, the glute crease here where the hamstrings start, just so when I'm going that forward that I can feel that maybe my right and my left is working good enough on both sides, so that they're both activated and doing the work and pulling myself back. You can go back and relax completely down and go again. The only thing as well with the foot position is try not to drive the heel in too much or have the back pad up too high. That would mean that your heel comes up and you're nearly pulling yourself back, maybe with your calves. And if you're feeling a little bit too much in the calves, that's what's actually happening, is that you're just driving the heels into the pads too much. You're trying to pull yourself back from there. You really need to think about bending your knee backwards, and so the hamstring is the one that's going to bring your body back. Like I say, I see people just dipping the hips there, kind of sound like cheating on it a little bit. It's important to just stay up nice and tall, lean out, get those hamstrings working and back in. It is one of my probably favourite one, but I do like the straight leg deadlifts for working the hamstrings. But I understand that kind of getting into that position for the straight leg deadlift can be a little bit hard for people. You might find this a little bit easier because it's very important to work the hamstring, especially if you kind of play any sport. A high percentage of injuries in field sports, whether it be football or GAA, is hamstring injuries, slight tears, strains, things like that. It is one that you really have to look after, and it's one that probably hits people the most often and could keep you out for a couple of weeks. So your hamstring health and your ability for your hamstring to work is very important. So when you do design programs, if you're in the gym, make sure you always work your hamstring. People think maybe that, oh, I'm doing deadlifts, whether it be hex deadlift or the straight bar deadlift, that is working hamstring enough. You have to work the hamstring apart from those, because although the hamstring works a bit on it, it is kind of a supporting muscle in it. It's not the main prime mover when you do the deadlift. To get the bar up off the ground, there's a lot of muscles that come into play to try and lift that bar up. So you do need to focus a little bit more, give your hamstrings a little bit more attention on their own, and that's hopefully will keep your hamstrings healthy throughout the season. And also, even if you don't play sport, it's still important to make sure you have balance to your workout. So if you do a lot of, say, squats, which the hamstring also works a little bit in, but it's mainly the quads and the glutes, you still need balance in your program. So whatever you work on the front, you must work on the back. Whatever you work on the posterior, you must work on the anterior, and things like that. It's the same where we would have mentioned when we kind of done the back row tutorial video or the benching, but you be able to push, you must also be able to pull. And it's very important to have balance in your working and your program, and to have healthy, strong hamstrings too. So that's kind of just to talk through one of my favourite hamstring exercises. And as I said, you might have seen this piece of equipment in the background of videos. I usually have it standing up over there and wonder what it is. Now you know the answer. It's not just for sitting on. And as I mentioned, we'll do a video on as well on the hip thrust, which you can use for that, but we also have a special hip thrust bench for doing that exercise. That's our video for today, tutorial. Just remember to work your hamstrings. If you want to add it in over the next while in your own workout, that would be great. Also, if you wouldn't mind subscribing to the channel, liking the video. If you have any comments, please leave them below. And that's another video, another Friday marked off, and we'll catch you again next Friday. And as always, thanks for watching.